All right, recording in progress. So, welcome to As You Happy Hour episode. Today, guest is I really love the story how we met actually last September. We were in a hotel like lobby, and then you told me like, "Hey, are you Adriana?" Right? And I said like yes, and that time I did know you from LinkedIn, but I didn't know like face to face. So that's the first time that I met you in person, and I'm very pleased to have you in today's episode, especially because I really love what you do. And yeah, I find your career path and like what you're doing very unique that can help a lot of SEOs to actually work from different companies for one of the greatest job site companies as you are indeed employer. So I'm very pleased to have your experience shared with other SEO crew about how to develop strategic thinking. So thank you so much for coming and welcome to the show.
No, my pleasure to be here. I think one of the things that is exciting about SEO is that everyone or a lot of people get a chance to be on the spotlight from time to time. So you start recognizing people, and it's a good feeling that it's like, oh, people know me, and the same way you're equals because everyone is trying to discover something new or sharing
Mhm.
a strategy or so it's not a like, oh, here are the superstars and all the other people. Like everyone in one level or another has a chance to be on the spot, and I think it's
Mhm.
it's just such a nice thing for an industry.
Yeah, I really love our community, and I really what I see that like like there are no like any kind of like superstars. We are just like humans, like we feel and like we speak like in so like natural way, like we didn't kind of like televisions, like superstars and that is like
Exactly.
what I really love about like SEO people. Like they're not, like like I'm famous and like I will not uh kind of I will just like pretend to I don't know, but yeah. I will keep the topic for the another episode, but here I really want to talk about strategic thinking because we know how that is important for SEOs. It doesn't matter if it's like B2B e-commerce, but definitely for enterprise SEO, if you don't have strategic thinking, you don't have like almost anything. So how did you develop that strategic thinking that help you to develop skills to have these kinds of like strategic skills?
Yeah, I think it's a lot about the people that are around you and trying to absorb what you learn from them. I had a job, I had a boss back in Holland, and this goes 80 years back, and it was a startup. I knew both of the owners, and he was my boss directly, and he would always be looking to numbers and say, look, if we get another 10,000 people coming, this means this amount of money. Or if we can scale this to 1 million, this is more or less this amount of money that you can bring to the company. And this money can fund project A, project B. And you start thinking like, oh, is that how it works? Um, so, just by hearing the people that are around you and understanding how they do, how they think, I think it's very important to become a better professional in general, really. Kind of try to read the room and understand what people are interested in. So, I might be on a meeting with the SEOs and I can talk about the core vitals, I can talk about structured data and all the shiny things. But if I'm on a meeting with a director, he or she, they don't really care about all of these details. They want to know, did we get more people in? Did they apply for jobs or whatever was the goal you had in mind? The techniques don't really matter too much for them. You might give an overview of this is the direction we are going, but what they really want to know in the end is, have we achieved the business goals we had? And knowing who you're talking to and helps you define what are you supposed to say to convince them or to get them on board or even just to get them pay attention to the idea that you have.
Mm-hmm. And what I see like during these conversations, especially if we are talking with like upper management, we are facing some internal issues like to proving ourselves, to validate our knowledge, to validate our work. And then we are having like these like thoughts like, oh, I need to really explain what I know. And of course, then like we are including SEO terms. And if we are talking with upper management, they will don't know basically what we are talking about. If they don't know, they don't see the value and they will say like, yeah, like that's fine, like let's move on. So how really important is to like put aside our thoughts about the validation, our SEO, and like find that lingo, that language that really aligns with business owners, with stakeholders, with the people who are not in the SEO world, and still show the value that we are providing for them.
Yeah, I really try to, it's probably not the best term, but like dumb down um, certain topics. And
Mm-hmm.
if you put yourself on the other side, like you're sitting, let's say you're sitting with a client and they are talking about the new line of products they released, and this wood is I don't know, yellow sun, this wood is a yellow mango, and I don't know, they go into detailed things, then you're
Mm-hmm.
like, you kind of get lost at some point. You're not really paying that much attention. And just put yourself trying to remember when you've been on a situation like this where all of those details don't matter to you, and that will help you to, filter information a bit better when you're presenting. So some people do want to know about certain things and some other people don't. And it's just like fine tuning what is the amount of detail that you want and trying to think like, I think after you meet someone for a couple of times, you learn what's their style. Do they want to know every detail? Do they just want to get the numbers and move on and talk about how the numbers will get even bigger? Or do they want to know every single detail, why you were you thinking like this and why we're doing things A, B, and C and so on?
Mm-hmm.
So it's more about adapt to the people that you're speaking to and not let's showcase how much I know about all of this and everyone should be interested because I'm great.
Mm-hmm.
And because, if you go in a different situation, you don't really want to know the details. I had some problem with was water leaking in my house. You call a plumber. Sure, he actually brought me to the attic and showed me, look, this thing is broken. I show you it's not working. It's like, oh, that's great. You managed to explain to me in 5 minutes or less. It was, maybe 30 seconds, and show
Mm-hmm.
me where the water is leaking, and we're gonna change this, and this is gonna solve your problem. This looks simple. You can do it now. Great. That's all the detail I need to know.
And there is still
And
value behind that, like, and even like when you are getting fixed problem with a smaller amount of time, like that's even like bigger value than like resolving your issue for a couple of hours.
exactly, yeah. And like some people don't really want all of that detail. You might just complicate yourself if you try to explain a topic that is too complex for someone who is not living in that world, because you might just lose them throughout the process. And something that maybe they would just say, yeah, that's fine, let's move on. They will be like, maybe I don't understand this. And you're spending much more time having the discussion versus just, you know, executing that idea.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we all want to have that strategic thinking. But when we are entering the SEO world, we are more learning about technical things, content things like backlink strategies. And then that is like for like technical specialists, like almost like, yeah, we have a full box of what we need to do. If you are growing, especially in the corporate ladder, or if you are growing to SEO manager, head of SEO, director of SEO, like any kind of seniority titles that we have, now strategic thinking is something that you must have. But how to approach that kind of like gap between like learning all these technical things and moving on to strategic thinking?
Yeah, I always like to have a story when I'm selling something. So
Mm-hmm.
we want to do, I mentioned internal links in a lot of talks that I do, and because it's a concept that we are all used to. So what is the story behind it? How are we gonna sell this? We're gonna give more visibility to those pages that we know that have potential to convert, but are not getting the space. So if they convert as the average of similar pages, there'll be a 2% conversion and they have a search volume potential of blah, blah, blah. So that person on the other side, you don't really need to see, here's a list of the 10,000 pages, 5,000 keywords we found. They want to know, this is the group of pages. There are 2,000 pages. They have a search volume of 1 million. They can get potentially 300,000 sessions at a conversion of 2%. This is the number you're going to get. So you're getting from the very big number to say, this is the amount of leads I can get to. This is the best scenario. And maybe you can put, a conservative scenario, a good scenario, and a great scenario. And you just need to sell those top ideas. Of course, behind that, you have all the work you want to do. But if you're only seeing a client or a director for maybe half an hour a month, there's a whole lot of work for those 10 minutes that you're doing a presentation, you're speaking about the detail, and another 10 minutes where they are questioning you about everything. And you just present the data if that questioning is there. You spent the whole month doing that research to get to that point to simplify what they want to see. So I think it's like learning how to fine tune those things. Read the room. Who are the people that you're talking to? What do they care about? What will make a difference for their business? And there's very little of SEO talk in there. We are not talking about techniques or anything unless I'm asked to do it. I need to know how to do it, because if the question comes in, you can back up your idea, but it doesn't need to be there as the very first thing you say.
And like with the strategic thinking, we are always connecting like big ideas, like creative ideas to bringing to that like strategy. But like, I'm just imagining like SEOs who is listening to this and he really wants or she wants to really develop strategic thinking and like, let's bring some good strategy with great ideas. So how I should approach that kind of like steps, how to bring actually creative ideas to the table?
Yeah, that is a very good question, and I'm trying to think of a clever answer that breaks it down into steps for people. But I think, again, it's how you tell the story. So let's say we're gonna do, I present about this in Brighton. We want to do outer pages. So why do you want to do those pages? We want to highlight EAT signals. We want to explain to the people reading this page who are the people behind it. Why are they capable of writing about this topic? And we want to please Google for whatever reason. So we already have there some reasons why we need to create those. We're creating this for people, we're creating this for Google. Maybe these topics are really sensitive and we need to show that there's someone who actually knows about this behind this content. So right here, I'm just selling a story. I'm not even necessarily talking about SEO too much. I'm thinking about how are the people that land on this page reading, let's say, about a medical topic, how can they trust this? And someone that lives in this business will say, oh yeah, we have a doctor behind it. There's a lot of crap written out there. We should have our doctor writing this thing. So that story must resonate with the people that are selling that to. If they only want to know numbers, that's great. If they want to know details, that's important as well. And I try to frame things into large projects. So if I just say, oh, we're gonna add structured data on this page, that's just one little point. But if I want to say we want to do more semantic SEO and we want to add structured data, we want to research entities, and then it becomes a bigger project. And to get a bigger project done, you need more time, you need more people involved, and then suddenly you have like a proper conversation with people. I try to put everything in a document because a lot of those things in SEO are so shiny and sometimes they're clear in our heads, or you go in your mind developing a direction, but after 3 or 6 months, you're doing so many other things that you forgot about why you wanted to do this in the first place. And having that written down, it really helps me to validate my idea and to know what's going on and don't forget about it. But also helps me to sell this idea to other people. So I will prepare some documentation, just a Word document. Why do we want to do this? These are the teams that need to be involved. These are the steps that need to be done. This is when we expect to release. This is how we're going to measure. And I share this document with other stakeholders that will be involved in this. And before I start doing anything, I give them a chance to read in their own time. They can give answers, they can ask questions in there to really be on board with what you're doing.
And I really love the first point and line when you mentioned like bringing the clever answer. But correct me if I'm wrong, with these like creative ideas and bringing that ideas to the table, we want so badly to bring the best idea like possible. And then we are putting that kind of pressure on us, like, let's come up with the best idea. But all these best ideas came from the few non-smart, like small ideas that maybe you saw that they are not working, like they are bad ideas. You're developing a bad idea to something that is like makes more sense. You are brainstorming and you are getting to that very good idea for your strategy in the future. But like we are so afraid to be dumb. So we are so afraid to not ask smart questions, that someone will think about us that we are not like good specialists, that we are kind of like not worthy and not trusty. So how to deal with these thoughts when you are presenting strategy, when you are in the room with like all these people who are very smart, who are very successful?
Yeah. I remember seeing a quote. I'll give you a proper answer, but I remember seeing on LinkedIn someone saying that every time when she was on a lower position, she would enter in the meeting room full of directors and think like, oh, they're all so smart. I wonder what happens when I'm not here presenting, like what kind of conversations they're having. And then she became a director and she's like, they're all like me. They're all exactly like I was a few months ago. They're not geniuses. You know, so they are smart, they deserve to be there and all of that. But it's not a whole different world of people that are, they're thinking so ahead of me that couldn't even think about the amazing ideas they're having. It's what like, wow, they just look like normal people. They have questions, they have doubts, and all of that. And I remember because I always had that thought as well. And as you start going up, you're like, oh, there's smarter things happening here. But people also have questions. They are not so sure about certain things. They want to validate ideas. It's not insanely different from when you are maybe as a on a mid position and still making your way up there. But to properly answer your question, I like to have one or two people that can be my go-to people to ask those dumb questions. And I tend to repeat what I hear, and I repeat in my own words to make sure that I understood what they're saying. And I work with one engineer, and I know like he's very friendly. He will take time to answer my dumb questions, and he's okay with that. He's not like, oh, I have to talk with this guy again. We just keep chatting, and I know he gives me proper answers. I understand what he tells me back on more detail when we are on a one-on-one. And it might be the ideal way to do, if you're in a meeting with 10 people, you don't want to take time from all 10 of them for something that 9 of them know but you. But if you just take time from one, then suddenly you saved a lot of time. And on one-on-one, that person will also have more time to, give you proper answers. So my advice would be try to get a couple of people in your company that are your go-to for specific topics, right? Like back in my agency years, there was one wizard on Google Sheets, and every time after half an hour that I couldn't solve something, he's like, Peter, can you help me with this? And he would solve in 2 minutes. He was the reference in the company. Everyone would go to ask him about this, and he would solve very quickly. You'd learn from it and get your problem solved. And I think that's a way to go. If you want to give it back to your team or to your community, do find that one or two things that you are really good at, and then you can also become that reference for a specific topic. This way, you're not just asking dumb questions. I mean, there are no really dumb questions, but you're not just asking the simple questions, but you're also being the answer for those. And in this way, it's like the community we were saying in SEO, everyone is giving a contribution and everyone is going a little bit up.
Yeah, I really love the story you mentioned, so it will stuck in my mind for long. Okay, so like you were mentioning for a few times like reading the room, but how to actually develop a skill to be able to read the room?
I think you're probably going to get wrong a couple of times. And once you start noticing if maybe people are not paying attention, or the person who you really want to make a decision, um, it's not asking the questions that you're expecting, or they're not really approving your idea, maybe you're not selling it the right way for that group of people. So I think it's kind of trying to learn what the moment is as well, right? Like we are talking now, and indeed there's some more conversations going about revenue, let's say, and I can look at, I can have my weekly meeting, I can talk about anything, but if there are in the company, there are conversations happening about this topic, can I bring this topic into my meeting as well? And this is a way to show like I am paying attention at where things are going and I'm adapting to it. I have a list of 50 things, but I promise you, after you say 3 or 4, people are not paying attention anymore. No, especially when you're working online, it's very easy to get distracted and look at the second screen, or there's a notification on your phone. So I try to keep just explain a couple of things. And I think in general, like when you say you go too deep and explaining too much to just one person talking, people tend to lose attention.
And would you say like even like losing attention, like, and how that correlates with the difference between like tactics and strategy? Because sometimes we are like too focused and we are paying so much attention to like actual tactic, and we are not seeing the big picture. So how to actually divide it and see like, okay, is this tactic a part of my bigger picture as a strategy, or is it something else?
I think talking with people from different teams that are involved in your project is huge. I've I've done a few things that I was just piggyback on somebody else's work, and I've told them once this is done, I'm gonna take this part of the work, I'm gonna build something else. And for me, this is a way to save energy, save resources. This team, to be mildly specific, this team was tagging pages into a certain type of tagging, and I wanted to use this tag to create a different page type. So I needed this work to be done first, and I could have tried to done it myself, but someone else was already ahead doing this for a different reason. So in a way, I'm saving resources and I'm saving my own time and just blending on what the company's going, the direction the company's going, because we're using the same resources to do a lot of different things. So sometimes it's, tasks, there are always tons of little tasks that can be done. But if you can't wrap that into a story, if you can't tell what was the business benefit of doing this, then it becomes a lot harder to get that attention from people. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you go to the CEO, he doesn't want to know, oh, we changed the 20,000 page titles, and it's like, how many more people applied for jobs?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
how many more leads have we got? How many more sales have we made?
Yeah.
And that's what's going to hold you at the end of the day, right? The closer you are to the money, the more attention people will give attention and respect they'll give to the work you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And that is like the difference between like even like SEO audit and like even with the SEO strategy. When you align your SEO strategy with the business goals, when you are creating like these kind of like business ideas, how SEO support these business ideas, like you are part of the strategy, you are thinking strategic, and stakeholders and all upper management will see you as a person who is thinking strategically, because in their eyes strategic thinking is actually thinking about like how to support business goals, leads, money, and where always follow the where the money is coming from.
Yeah.
So if you don't have like the idea like what you should focus on, follow the money path, and you can come up with something how to improve that.
Yeah, I think I over time I realized that not everything has to be done. You know, you do an audit, you find all of these things that can be done to improve the website. But I realized maybe some of them won't really make much of an impact. They're just easy to do,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a way for you to show work is being done, but they won't necessarily have an impact um, on the business. So once you start finding the things that do have impact, and I have to say it's easier to do things like this when you have a really large website, because there are a lot of opportunities. You know, something you're gonna get right, and you're gonna have a show a big impact in at least a couple of the things you're doing. And but once you learn that and you get a taste for, oh, I can prove impact in here, then the things that you know that you can't find a way to prove impact, you start leaving them a little bit behind. Some still
Mm-hmm.
have to be done. Some are beyond your good practice for SEO, but not everything has to be done. And you know, I think that I'm on this moment that if I can't prove the impact, I don't want to do something. It already goes lower on my list. Eventually gets done if there's another reason for it beyond SEO, but it's not always. Sometimes it will just wait there for months and months.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually that is like our job in the strategic thinking, like what needs to be prioritized, and always prioritization is like with the impact, or on other hand, like if something is broken, so we really need to have like uh, fix it like very quickly. But like in the many of our work things, like we will not be able to implement all what we know, and then we need to really like make a difference, like from the all these like headline structure what we can do, or like these easy fix meta descriptions on some pages that people are not seeing, from the actually like what will bring company new lead, new money income, or like anything. And that is like you know, like a lot of people are thinking like, oh, I really need to develop strategic thinking, and then like going to different courses, going like, I don't know, reading or something like that. But like when you put like strategic thinking in these like just like few action items that we mentioned, you are already on that path of strategic thinking, and then practicing. And you mentioned a lot of times communication, like with different team members, different stakeholders, different like any different like member. And that is something that where you are collecting information, you are getting another perspective.
Yeah, I try to have those meetings very regularly with people from different teams. Sometimes we not even have an agenda. It's just, oh, I'm working on this, this, and this. And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I can borrow some of this, or I have an idea that is similar to this. You know, there's an overlap in here and there. Can we join forces? Can we make this thing to work for both of us, and everybody has something to celebrate, and I can prove impact this way, you can prove this way. So in a sense, even if one thing doesn't work as you expected, you can't prove the impact, something else worked, or at least you have a chance, you have higher chances to hit the spot using fewer resources. So I think that's, I don't know, I've never done any courses on this. I'm just learning from working with people and thinking a lot from the moments that I got things wrong. And then maybe in the next month or a while later, you're meeting that same person again. So, you know, if you're doing the same approach as you did before and it didn't work, the outcome potentially will be the same. So I keep looking to like, how are the ways that I can convince this person? What are the things that they believe? So do they want to see an A/B test to believe that this works? Do they want to see that there were more about sessions going to this page? What is the thing that matters for this person for them to believe on what I'm doing, so I can keep doing that? I think that's the framework that I try to think about it all the time.
And yeah, and you mentioned like being wrong, but we are so afraid of testing new things and maybe something is not working because we attach that value if something is not working with our knowledge, with our value. So what is your approach about like being wrong and just like in general, like fear of failure?
Yeah, I think it's, of course, that's always a difficult topic. But if you are testing a lot of things, a few things will be done right, and a few things will fail. And if you're bringing that approach and say, this is a test, we want to see if this works. And if it doesn't work, I think it's okay, because you wanted to learn if it would work or wouldn't. So now you know it doesn't. Let's move on and try something new. Like at least you took something out of the list and say, okay, I can't keep dreaming about this because I couldn't make it work. Or
Yeah.
sometimes it works a little bit and you still believe in the idea and you think, can I reframe this on a different way? Why it didn't work? Did I miss something here? Can I do a V2 of this and still try to make it work? So in some cases, it's just like a straight no. And sometimes halfway through, you realize it's not as good as we thought, but there's still some benefit. I can make this better.
Yeah, because even we did some wrong, we have some learnings. We have something to improve, to optimize the process. But if you are not able to start anything just because of feel that you maybe will wrong, like you are not progressing, because we are aware that like the most successful people have also the biggest mistakes, and like they grow from that mistake, because that's just like part of the journey. Like you can't be a fighter without matches.
Yeah, I think the more we learn about things, the more we realize that we don't know enough. And I don't know, it's always about, it's very relative, right? Like I'm speaking now at the Brighton SEO and big events. 5 years ago, I was speaking at much smaller events. And what I talk about it now, it's a lot more complex than the one I did before. But I was still excited and proud of what I did many years ago. I wouldn't give the same talk anymore, but it was just a moment. And it really depends reading the room again. Who are you speaking to, right? If I'm on a small event and I'm speaking with people that don't live in SEO, you know, any simple thing that I explain about this show will be interesting for them. I was watching a guy at a conference. He was talking about the Tesco club points, and it was a basic talk. So like, oh, you know, we have the club card, and we use that to profile who are our customers. And it's like, oh, this is very interesting. Like he was giving me a pitch that maybe was from a few years ago on how this was built, but I never lived in this universe. So for me, it was fascinating to learn about the different uh, families and groups that they target with different products and how they use this information. So um, don't be too afraid of failing. The more you grow, you realize that you can get better at something, and nobody knows everything. Everybody is a little afraid of things not going the right way, and often we think that people are seeing mistakes, but they are not really seeing it. I think that's why I brought the public speaking part, because everyone, when we were at Brighton, they give a training for you and they say, don't be afraid. If you're not holding any papers, people are not going to see that maybe you're shaking a little bit. Like everyone wants you to do it well. Nobody knows exactly what you're going to say. If you change the course a little bit halfway through, nobody will notice because they don't know what was meant to be said in the first place. So I think doing things wrong is part of life. It gets you closer to doing things right. And that's the only way to go, really, if you want to grow.
Yeah, because I think like even just like thinking about like that you can be wrong and that you can make mistake is a is a bigger disaster than you just like made mistake and then like yeah, I made mistake, but let's see how I can fix it, and then like you are focused on that, like you're not. So even like these like pre-game is having a bigger impact on us because they are sabotaging on like taking some opportunities or just like progressing than just like when you do actual mistake.
Yeah, I mean, you can stay cozy where you are if you don't want to grow, but I would assume that most people want to grow. They want a nicer job, a nicer house, a nicer things in life, and that will come with some mistakes as well. It's helps you to get closer to the right thing.
Yeah. All right. For the end, do you think that there is any additional thing about how to develop strategic thinking that we didn't mention today?
Yeah, I do a lot of writing when let's say I want to pitch something, and we do a thing called PRD, a product requirements document, and it's just a Word document, and I try to filter everything that I want to pitch for that idea I write in this document. And sometimes halfway through, I realize that I haven't convinced myself. So I didn't even pitch the idea because I writing down and realize this method won't really work. If I look at this is live tomorrow. Everything was done in one day. It's live tomorrow. What is the conversation I'm gonna have? How I'm gonna show we got this more sessions, we got this more people to create accounts or whatever goal you have, and I wouldn't be able to prove it. So like, oh, okay, I already put myself on a bad position. I won't be able to prove it, but I'm asking people to spend 3 to 6 months working on this. So, it does help me to filter what to bring in. And I think often is about when you bring things as well. If you see that your manager is really stressed about something, do you need to bring this problem right now? Maybe it's not urgent. Maybe there are already enough problems in the air. It's probably not the right time to ask for something. Or if everyone is thinking about a certain topic, do bring this topic at that time as well. I had a few months ago, I knew we wanted to do some paid speed improvements. I already had four big initiatives open with my engineers. I said, will I add a fifth one? And the year's gonna end. There's no time to finish all of them. So I might as well get four finished or two or three, then start a fifth one. And then you have, five cars, they're running and they all run out of gas. And I start the new year and then, well, we didn't finish anything, because everything was urgent. So, working with perhaps fewer projects at a time and showing the impact for some of them, it's better than trying to do everything.
Yeah, like when people are saying like if you're creating a business for everyone, then it's not for no one.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So, Gus, thank you so much for today. I really love our session, and you actually break strategic thinking and something that is like, oh, what is that, like to the very like action steps and like what we can do practically like today, tomorrow in our company for business, for the corporation that we are working for. So thank you so much for it.
No, my pleasure. It's nice to have a chat about SEO that is not purely about SEO. So thank you for having me, and let's meet sometime for coffee in Dublin.
Yes, we will.